fruition. Invited some of his teammates to work out, and they showed up. Here's some new pictures. DK Metcalf, Freiermuth, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller. Asking for your reaction to this, Coach. I didn't get any action shots, but some nice group photos here. You're not a fan?
I love guys getting together and working out. I think it's great. I think it builds chemistry.
Yeah.
I think all those things are true. He showed up for what, mandatory minicamp?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't on the team before that.
Well, so he was there for 3 days. Yeah. So my question is, as they're going through this, who's leading? Like, who's leading this process? Does he really know the offense well enough to talk about route adjustments? And does he know the different core plays around this offense? He spent, what, 3 days there? Maybe he does know a bunch of stuff, and they can really fine-tune some details.
All right, hold on. Can I ask you a question? Let's say he knew none of the offense. Like, the minicamp he signed after minicamp, didn't even have a playbook. Couldn't it still be useful to have guys out there and, develop a rapport? This is like how this is what catching a ball from Aaron Rodgers feels like. This is, what my hand signals are. And again, I guess I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, but I'm saying, like, wouldn't there be useful things they could be doing even if there was no playbook or offense or anything to install or go over?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think, I don't know if it's me being cynical, but you had a lot of time to make a decision to become a Pittsburgh Steeler. And you could have come in a little bit earlier. You could have gone to a few OTAs. You could have gotten an advanced, so you could have gotten a much more thorough understanding of the system so that this becomes that much more impactful. And didn't he talk about how he's trying to stay away from the media and keep things private? Yeah. And then you have this, and you're the one that posted on Instagram. It just seems a little bit like disingenuous. It's great. Working out together is a great thing. I don't know if he sponsored the trip. Probably should have. I know he's making less than he has in the past. But it just...
So I agree with you on and this is dichotomy of him saying, like, I want to be private, during his, regular spot on Pat McAfee's show. And like you said, publishing this, I get why you would
picture,
right, why you would want to eye roll at it. I understand that. My takeaway from this was actually two separate things. One is, yes, do I like this from Aaron? Yes. I think, like you said, Patrick has the guys come down to Texas where he's at. Hey, guys, this is where I'm going to be. I have a good setup. Like you said, I assume I'll fly you guys out. We'll work out together. I think that's positive. My takeaway was more about that team photo.
Why?
Because I just don't think the Steelers are an imposing skill position group. And I think I look at that and I see DK Metcalf and a bunch of guys.
Does any of it have to do with the pose?
I mean,
like, it's not a cool pose.
I understand that, but I also, when I look at that team and I see the oldest quarterback in the league by, well, not by a lot because Flacco's still in the league, but you know what I mean? The oldest quarterback in the league, a really good wide receiver in DK Metcalf, and then just a group of guys.
Yeah. This is just where it's just like, you got to be balanced with the takes you give. And all last season, they ripped Aaron Rodgers. Ripped him. For the whole thing with not showing up, to the mandatory thing, the unexcused absence, Egypt, whatever it was. It was just, this is ridiculous. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be doing this and doing that. And it was just relentless. It was just nonstop take after take after take. And then even now this offseason, it's like, oh, he's going to be signing with Pittsburgh, but he's not doing this because of the camp and this and that. And it's just relentless. And now he does something. The one thing that they criticized him for years. And you automatically want to change the conversation. You want to be like, I don't know, is it really that good? So, well, this is what you've been begging him to do. And then if you have to concede, like Nick did, where it's like, oh, I think it's positive, but let's just change the topic right now. The real story is how good is this offense? That's not what this is. Like this from Aaron. Is this a good thing that Aaron Rodgers is doing? And it's just like, man, you gotta be balanced. you gotta be balanced. And my personal belief is that if you go really hard in the negative towards someone and you're criticizing someone, when they then do something positive that is genuinely positive, you got to give them the time. You can't just give the lip service and say, oh no, that was pretty impressive, and then like move on. Perfect example for me is Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks. I was like, no, I don't think they're going to have a great year. They're not going to be that good. Baker's not that impressive to me, blah, blah, blah. And Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans loved it, by the way. They loved when I said that about, especially Baker Mayfield fans, for sure. And then Baker kept that team afloat with all the injuries and all of that. And I was like, I'm wildly impressed. I'm incredibly impressed that they were able to do all that. And I talked about it, discussed it, made multiple videos, and I wasn't just like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. Anyway, how about the Commander? It's like that's not what I did. That's not what I did. And so it's like, if you were going to be harsh for Aaron Rodgers for all the other stuff, especially the stuff that's off the field, this is this is like an in-betweener between off the field and on the field type stuff. Here it is, and it's just like, okay, like. Yeah, and that's why Wild was like, gee whiz, like what, kind of like, what the heck, like we criticize this guy for everything, and now he finally does something, and it's just like, oh, never mind. And then again, let's just change the topic entirely to like, well, how imposing is, I don't know, man, none of them are wearing pads right now. A lot of athletes just like kind of look like a bunch of dudes. I mean, like we've seen that. That's why people like Kelsey and even Mahomes got made fun of for having like dad bods or whatever. So it's just like, I don't care. I'm not seeing them move in space right now. Like, what do you want them to all look like right now? And again, the pose. What pose can you do when you're taking pictures right now? Like, you're all supposed to like, I don't even know like what you want them to do, like an Avengers pose. Like, they're hanging out, they're playing ball together, they're building up that rapport. It does mean a lot to some of these, to the other players and whatnot. Even to someone established like a DK. Like, it's just like, this is one of those things where it's just like, you can't win, man. You just can't win. And for the life of me, I don't get it. Because my personal experience has been that Aaron Rodgers is not this viewer gold mine, right? Where everyone always says, oh, so-and-so is doing this for clicks or views or whatever. My personal experience has been not so much. Like, when I was covering the Aaron Rodgers and the Jets a lot, I made a video where I was just like, I'm not really covering that much because, like, no one's really watching watching them that much. Like, no one's really watching these videos that I'm making. So I'm like, I'm going to stick to the teams that people, like, actually care about me talking about. And that has been my experience with just Aaron Rodgers as a whole. And it was funny because one time someone complained to me and was like, why aren't you making Jets videos? And they're like, that's because you were wrong about them. And someone was like, no, he literally said in this video that people don't watch them. And it's just like, so I don't understand, because this to me is, again, another story of like, we got to talk about football. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. And it's just like, I just question, like, for what purpose? And it's just like, yeah, what there's so many other interesting, why aren't they talking about the Terry McLaurin thing? I just made a video about Terry McLaurin and about that whole trade dilemma. Like, that's a real story. That's actually something to legitimately discuss. I'd rather talk about, will Caleb Williams be better with the Chicago Bears for the 800th time this offseason, rather than saying, look at this picture. Is this picture imposing? Should they have been in Malibu? Would have this been more productive if Aaron Rodgers understood the playbook a little more? Like, I don't know. Or at least have a better conversation as to be like, okay, maybe they don't have the plays all there and there's no coach. What are the actual benefits? Coach, you're a coach. What are the actual benefits to having, 8 players on offense all get together, even if they're just hanging out? When you say chemistry, what do you mean by chemistry? Can you unpack that a little bit? Do you mean like chemistry as in like they just get along with each other and they're cracking jokes to one another and they start to kind of have, a legitimate friendship with each other? Or do you mean chemistry as in like you kind of get a feel for what they're doing on the team? Like, that would be a great conversation. Let's unpack that. What does chemistry truly mean in the NFL? And when players enjoy hanging out in Malibu together, how does that translate on the football field? How does that translate to week 8 in a windy, cold game? Does the work you did in Malibu, How does that help? How does that help? That's a real conversation to have. Oh, well, it helps because some of the rapport that you build and the connection that you build when one of your receivers does make a mistake, or if it doesn't go right, it makes you a little bit more resilient to some of the pitfalls that you can have throughout the season. And you kind of want to see your guy succeed more because, again, you start to build a connection with them and you start to be a little bit more invested. When you don't have that relationship, you're really only focused about yourself. And so you're not as invested in the success of others. And ultimately, teams are at their best when the wide receiver 2 wants the wide receiver 1 to succeed, and the wide receiver 1 wants to see the wide receiver 3 succeed, and the tight end wants to see the quarterback. Like, it really helps you. And ultimately in a season, you're going to go through lots of ups and downs, and some of those fun nights in Malibu really kind of just help build, if at the very least, just a depth of resiliency that you don't necessarily get without it. I just made that up right now. It's an accurate take, but I just came up with that off the top of my head right now. That's a way more interesting conversation than whatever the heck we're talking about right now. So that's why I give such pushback to stuff like this, because it's like I often say, like, what are we doing here? And again, I could understand if Aaron Rodgers was just like ratings gold mine, then I could be like, all right, whatever, talk your talk. But it's just like, it's not, at least not my experience. And if it's not, like, at the very least, then the segment needs to at least be interesting. And I gave my take about the building the rapport and the chemistry and the resilience. But I would have loved to hear an actual NFL coach discuss that. I would love to hear Mangini like actually break that down a little bit more in depth, and then reference an experience that he had when he was coaching and when players did this and he saw a change in the locker room. Like that's to me is valuable information. But just using it as a jumping off point to kind of throw random shade at either Aaron Rodgers or the Pittsburgh Steelers as a whole, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's the summer, man. It's July. We are in the heart of it right now. In June, you start to wind down a little bit because you still have a little bit of the overflow of the draft, and you're still weirdly talking about what happened last season, and everyone's coming out with their rankings and whatnot, and like now it's July, and you're like, everyone's going on vacation. They've been on vacation. Colin's on vacation. They're going to be on more vacations, and the camp hasn't really started. No one's going to be talking about preseason games or whatnot. There's not enough like really interesting like rookie quarterbacks who they're like, is this quarterback going to be great? Is this quarterback going to be great? Is this quarterback going to be great? And so we get this. And it's tough. It's tough. I'm trying my best. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Aaron Rodgers? Do you love this? Or do you hate this? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think it's nonsense? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.